Hey YouTube, it's Travis and Gavin with Generation Gap Game Review, and today we're going to be doing our first game. It's a game called Game Dev Tycoon. And first of all, I would like to thank the developers of this game. I actually reached out to them via email. They sent us a nice email back saying they love the idea and they would be happy for us to do a review on YouTube. So thanks to Patrick and Daniel Klug in Australia. Beautiful place, beautiful country. So basically what this game is about, it's a game where you play a guy starting up a game development studio, and starts in his garage, and then you can move on to bigger and better things. You move into an office, you can have 4 employees. You develop things, any type of, there's different genres you can develop. There's actually different type, you can do like multi-genre, so you can actually choose 2 different genres. There's the technology increases as it goes on. What are some examples of?
A lot of the technology comes from, you get the game engine technology, which comes a lot when you level, and it's a very nice system that it uses because it's all based on how your previous games do. But so like if your game levels to something, like your sound technology, you can go from a mono sound to a stereo sound to a full soundtrack to having all that, and you start off like 2D or text-based games, and you can actually improve those up to the point where you get like basically the future games.
Yeah, I think MMOs, from what I personally haven't gotten there yet, neither has Gavin, but MMOs, I understand, are part of the game, so you can work your way up to the point where you are developing your MMOs and all the technology that goes with that. I've gotten pretty much into like online play and stuff like that, multiplayer. That's as far as I've gotten.
I got all the way to the 3rd office. I just got my technician when I last played. So yeah, I got my technician. I was making, my company was upwards of closer to $300 million, and that's one of the things I like too, is the money can come and go real quickly.
Yeah, that's one thing I found when I jumped from my garage to the office. You start hiring employees, and at first I don't want a big expenditure, so I'd hire like 1 employee.
Yeah.
And what I found out was, well, you and 1 other guy, when you have the office space you have to pay for, it's just not going to cut it.
Yeah, one of the ways the game works is it gives you 2 bubbles. You sit, so like you're at your desks, and above the desks there's 2 bubbles. One's technology, or there's 4 technically. One's technology, one's research points, one's design points, and one is bugs. So the more people you have working, the more bugs you'll come, but the more technology and design points, which will hopefully give you a better rating as you go. So like one of the strategies you can do is just hire a whole bunch of guys. You're going to take a huge hit because you have to pay monthly for your buildings, for all
salaries.
Your salaries. And it couldn't cost a lot, but you're also going to be getting way more points.
Right. The more points you get, obviously, the better game you develop. Now, that's not always the case because I've developed a couple of stinkers. I tried, and it was ridiculous because I tried to do a movie.
Yeah, you have to follow trends a lot, which I've noticed.
And just like in the real world, I got 4 1s for my movie game. So you can kind of tell what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, obviously, we've been playing games for a long time. Probably most of you have too. So you know what works and what doesn't work. When you get multi-genre, you start getting even bigger and bigger releases. I think my biggest release is 1.4 million copies so far sold. It's similar to a game for the Apple iPhone by Kairosoft, or from Kairosoft, called Game Dev Story. But this takes it, and I was addicted to that game when I was on my iPhone, back when I was using iPhones. This takes it and makes it so much more complex. I haven't unlocked even half of the genres I think you can have. There's probably like 30 or 40 genres.
There's well more than that at least, because, I mean, it's got to be upwards in the 60s at least, because I got about halfway through and it was still like massive amounts to unlock. And I like too, the unlock system for it is all based off research points, but I like the way that the game's effect on like your device.
Yeah, and you also have to, my understanding too, speaking of devices, you can actually, as you get on, you can develop your own console.
Oh, really?
And sell your games for your own console, which is pretty cool. The other cool thing, there's lots of cool things about it, but it's just a very in-depth game as far as game development goes. We have a friend that's actually going to school currently to be a game developer, and he was over at my house, and I saw it, and I was like, I think this is like that game that I used to play on my iPhone, so I downloaded it. He watched me play it, went straight home and bought it himself. So it's a lot of fun. It's very addicting. like I said, I'm gonna have this gonna be one of these games that I have to cut myself off at a certain time every night because I'll be up till 4 playing.
Yeah,
it,
I know
and
that
I'm just
feeling.
like, oh, I must go to bed now. So it's a lot of fun. Like I said, we kind of went over a lot of the pros. It's a very in-depth game. There's stuff that I've played it. I think my Raptor account says at least 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
And I haven't even gotten to the third building yet. In the third building, you can buy different areas that you can do, R&D department, stuff like that. Your MMOs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed too was when you're playing the games and you're developing it, you cannot do, like, realistically, you can't do certain game types for certain consoles. Like, for handhelds, I found sports racing games just do amazing, but if I do like a war-based game on an older handheld, it's not going to go.
Yeah, and there was one that I didn't unlock my first or second playthrough. It's actually, you can do it by maturity level. You can set what type of game it's going to be.
Yeah.
And that'll work with different consoles. And I found that I did the same thing. Like, I tried to release a mature content on the Game Link, which is what they call the Game Boy in the game. And it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
It sold nothing. It bombed completely.
Which is cool because it seems to represent the real life when the real versions were out.
Yeah.
It did that. And that. Speaking of the game, like, I kind of really love the names that they have for the consoles.
Yeah, the names, it's the M-Box instead of the Xbox. What was the Wii?
Play system. You got the Play system. You got the new.
The new instead
which
of the
is the
Wii.
NUU instead of Wii. And then Vito.
Then Vito, yeah. Veen, I think, was one of them.
Yeah, I think so.
And Sunny, I think, was one of them.
Yeah, and then the Play system instead of the PlayStation.
Yeah.
It was the names, though. The names alone will keep you entertained.
Exactly. And, of course, you can make up your own goofy names for games. We've sat around laughing at each other's names that we've come up for different games. And,
yeah, the only problem I have with the names is the console name, or the engine names. I always forget the engine names because I'm focusing on everything. I think that's the only thing that is not named.
Yeah, and what he's talking about, just to delve into this concept kind of quickly, you can develop your own game engine. And when you research things, then you have to, once you research it, you've got that ability to do that. Then you have to create a game engine. And in that game engine, you can put that features and functionality. So basically, you don't want to create, and engines are very expensive, and it takes a while to actually produce them. You got to tack away at it.
One of the bronze achievements, they have several achievements, bronze, silver, and gold. One of the bronze achievements is getting $1 million put into your engine.
Yeah,
that's just the bronze.
I unlocked one of those. And it basically gives you a lot of features and functionality.
What I like is when you actually go in to write the game, you have all this great stuff you can use. And you can put all this great stuff in there. I got surround sound. I got online play. I got multiplayer. This is great. But your guys are limited. They have to train your guys up. And if your guys aren't trained properly in certain things, you can't hit your numbers to get all that stuff in. So then you actually have to kind of look at it and you have to say, okay, I know I'm not going to be able to. I'll get 78% out of this. Everything balanced. There's these 3 bubbles, and you can kind of balance what does what. And you say
bars. You got three bars, and it's each one represents something different. And on your right side of the screen, it's going to say, like, for your sound, it's going to be like you have mono stereo, you have stereo system, orchestra, soundtrack was one of them, and it's going to have those, and you can select those, and it's going to give you a percentage if it doesn't complete it, and that the bars is what you have to balance to.
Yeah, and obviously you want, so there's a percentage, you want the percentage to go away. You want, because it's 100% it goes away. But then you start looking through there, and if you guys aren't trained well and all that, you don't really have that opportunity to do everything you want. So you're like, and it's kind of, which makes me think this is how, we all complain about incomplete games and why doesn't it have multiplayer and this kind of stuff. And I think that's basically represents that. It's very representative of the fact that you just don't have the time or the manpower or whatever to get everything done. So then you got to start thinking, okay, well, do I really need online play? Multiplayer's fun,
And I've also noticed that your sales depend on it too. Like if you have a racing game, your sales will go up if you have a racing steering wheel.
Yeah, the steering wheel's an option, joystick, there's several control options.
I've noticed it does affect sales. It's not like just something in there. And you also have to worry about price because you add those in like it's $10,000 to develop the software in order to use the thing. And like if you're on a low budget, like sometimes the game gets to the point where you have like $60,000 to develop a game.
Right. Exactly.
And this is the game where you're like, I have to have this go up or I'm going to go bankrupt.
Yeah, and that's happened to me on several occasions where you get to that game where, and I think everybody probably plays it, nobody's going to do it perfect the first time. Yeah. You're going to hit a point where you're like, this game has to sell. As a matter of fact, last night I was at that point. I had like $689,000 left in the bank. And I released a game that sold 1.4 million copies, and that was my big one. It got me $13.2 million bucks. And then it's like, and you start working on the next.
They do have bank bailouts though, which I like. So you have this option that you can have it unlimited times, which I like too. So like I had a failed game, and I'm like, this next game I'm doing a sports. Sports seems to be pretty good. I was doing it on the what was the Game Boy?
You got a Game Link?
The Game Link. I was doing it on that, and I'm like, sports always does well on this. I do an everyone rating. I did this and did that, and then bam, the game puts me into bankruptcy, and the bank's like, you got to pay me back $200,000.
Right.
At this point, I'm like, I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Hit it, and this game was a big one. It sold like $3 million worth. The bank's like, we need our $200,000. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because of this bailout, I was able to keep going. And it's the only time it seems you fail is when the bank pulls the bailout money back. They get their payback, and you don't have it.
Yeah, they basically will double their money. So if it's, I think at one point I had, they said we'll loan you $500,000, but you got to pay us back $1.1 million or something along those lines. And I was just like, yeah, no. I think that particular game was going nowhere, and the story was going nowhere for me. I'd made some bad decisions, so I just had to say screw it and start over. So let's go move on to some. I mean, basically, we both love the game.
Yeah, the game is amazing.
So
there are a few bad things about it, though. I mean, there's not a lot. I think the good things definitely outweigh the bad.
And we have to remember, too, this is one of the reasons I like indie developers, is that they read the forums. He's active in the forums.
Very active on the forums.
So when people say, and actually one of the topics was, hey, give me a one-line blurb of what you'd like to see changed. And, I mean, that's why I love it. You try to do that with EA. You know, good luck with it. You can't even bother support and get your stuff fixed half the time.
What would your one-liner be?
I don't know, I think my one-liner, and it kind of, now that I understand how the game works, mine was adjusting the bars. So if you move one up, the others don't automatically adjust down, but then when I wasn't to the point where I had the different things.
It seems to be later on that you need it, but when you do need it, it makes so much more sense. Yeah. Like in the beginning, it doesn't make very much sense.
Yeah, so that was pretty much, that was my one-liner. There's a limited saves, apparently, I think.
I have 3, I think I saw, but it looked like you have 4.
Yeah, I have autosave, and then I have the 3.
I don't think I saw my autosave though.
So I mean, that would be the other thing. And one time I was fairly quick in the game, and I hit escape, and I accidentally clicked new, and there was no, are you sure you want to start a new game? It was just boom, I was back in my garage. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it would be nice to have some sort of
are you sure?
Right. Yeah. Just a little nitpicky stuff like that.
I mean, that's not something hard to ask for though.
No, I don't think it would be hard to put in there, and I know I'm definitely going to be sticking with the game and play it for a while.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be playing it more than that for sure.
So, do you have something?
Yeah, my one-liner would be multi-platform.
Oh, yeah.
There might be, I don't know, I haven't got there yet, but I think at an earlier time, it should be where, like, you pay the dev for both. You have to pay for both, and the ratings depend on the platform. So, like, if I come out with a war game and it's on the Game Link, I think it should do worse on the Game Link than on, like, the Play System.
Yeah, and that was, I did see some comments in the forum section where people were asking for that, so I don't know if maybe they haven't hit it either, but that is definitely, I've seen out there, that is a request.
Yeah, I think multi-platform, like, just make it so you pay both devs.
Yeah, like, I had Play System 2 and the Inbox 360, and I agree. Like, I had both of them licensed, but I had no option to sell the same game, which we see obviously a lot of now.
Yeah, and then the other thing was, if you, like, I released a game called, it was Elves Revenge on, like, Play System, and it did amazing. It did so good. They're like, oh, I wish, and one of the reviews was,
I wish it was a sequel.
Yeah, and then I was like, you know what, let me release it on, like, Inbox, and maybe it'll do good. It tanked, and all the reviews were, it's nothing new. But I'm like, if it's on several platforms, if it's a different platform, it should give you a similar result because of the previous sales, but it should be because you're bringing it to a new platform. I think the platforms should not affect each other nearly as much.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else?
That's my main thing. And in the beginning, the slides just need a little more representatives. It seems in the beginning they don't mean nearly as much.
Slides?
Yeah.
The bars.
The bars.
Yeah, no. And like I said, I think that's just my misunderstanding of the game, not getting far enough in.
There are random events, too. That's one of the things I liked. Like, one of the ones was these Nigerians were faking to be another country, and they're like, you give us $120,000, and we can send a $4 million investment to you. I was like, oh, why not? At this point, I had, like, $12 million. I was like, this is the best I've ever done. And I'm like...
You got scammed.
I totally got scammed. I was like, screw it.
You got scammed by Nigerians in a video game.
And then one of the other ones is your credit card information gets stolen. It's usually around $30,000 from what I've noticed, but I like that too. But this actually is kind of funny because there's one where he himself released a pirated version of his game into the torrents. And basically, no matter what, your company would suffice to piracy. No matter what. Eventually, you would lose the piracy.
And we talked about this at length, and I think it's a brilliant idea. So yeah, he released a copy of all 3 of his games, exactly fully functional copies of his games, with one difference: your company would always fail to piracy, like Gavin said. And I think the funny thing is, and we talked about this too. It's funny and it's sad because, as a gamer, it's funny because the comment section we're like, I can't, this piracy, and this is commenting on the pirated version.
And on the real forums.
Right, exactly. My company keeps succumbing to piracy. What's going on? What do I have to do? I have to research DRM? I don't understand what's going on here.
Yeah. Can we get a DRM in the game? That'd be nice.
Exactly. It's just like,
and these are the people that pirated it.
Right, exactly.
Really?
They're like, oh, the piracy's killing my game. I don't understand, my company. I don't understand what's going on. It's just the irony is it's funny and it's sad all the time.
Yeah, I think he kind of shot himself in the foot just a little bit by doing the same time release, not letting the people have to crack it, which would leave the lazy people to be like, I'll just buy it.
Yeah, we actually looked right before we started this video online, and they've got the real version without the whatever. And the sad thing is, I guess one more comment on that is that I think it's a brilliant idea. The only thing that I could see where it would backfire is like what Gavin said, but my piece of it is that if they don't know that,
and they just think it's the game.
Yeah, they just think it's the game, and they're just not going to even screw it. Then this game sucks. That's kind of one thing that bothers me because it's a great game, and which leads us to the price of the game.
Well, he had the pie chart.
He did have a pie chart.
93%, which was 3,000 something.
Yeah.
Around those numbers. Pirated it. And it's silly because the game is $8.
It's an $8 game, $8 US on their store. He's trying to get a green light for Steam. I definitely voted it up. That's actually where I saw it. I went straight to his website and said, shut up and take my money. After I played the light version, and I was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for.
I think that a game like that is too cheap, and especially with indie developers. I mean, last I heard, he hadn't even been able to pull a paycheck from this. It took him a year to develop.
Right.
And they're just, it's just stealing from him.
It's sad for $8.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, he's not asking $60. He's not asking, he's not asking for, I'll give you the game for free, but if you want to develop a game, you got to pay us 10 cents. So, I mean, it's nothing like, none of that crap. It's a totally $7 or $8.
An amazing game for $8 too.
Definitely,
and you definitely get your hours. It's not like, it's not buggy, really. I haven't encountered any bugs. And it's simple, but it's addicting as hell.
And I went to the movies yesterday, and it was $10, and it was a 2-hour movie. So, I mean, you really can't go wrong for the bang for your buck.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I guess that's pretty much all we have to say.
Yeah.
Big fans of Game Dev Tycoon. Hopefully, we'll see some more out of this and see some updates. I'd love to see some new features, and it sounds like he's constantly working on it. Guys, if you're watching this video, we loved your work. We love your game. Keep making them out there. Hopefully, this will hit it big, and hopefully on Steam, you'll sell 1 million copies, and you'll be out there. We'd love to play more of your games.
Thank you very much for letting us do this, and anything that you'd like to know, all the links will be down in the description. If you liked the video, please give it a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more.